Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, mindset mentor, best-selling publisher, and publisher of Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational digital mag for women since 2006. Yes, Linda Joy here with a magical guest that I've known for quite a while, and the work she's doing in the world, as you're about to discover, can really inspire, empower, and support you on your journey. You know, if you're seeking change and want to align with your highest purpose, the power is in your hands, my friend. Really, it really is. Many of us know that we need a change, an overhaul of the way we do life. We may feel the need to move forward, but I don't know about you, but sometimes we're not sure where to best place our feet to take those first steps. Well, joining me today is Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino, the author of the Change Guidebook and the founder of the Best Ever You Network. And she's going to be sharing some powerful strategies to support you on your journey. Elizabeth is also the co-founder of Compliance 4. Through these companies, she has helped individuals and organizations around the world be their best and achieve world-class excellence with gratitude-based behavior and belief systems. She's one of America's foremost personal and corporate development consultants, specializing in mindset, strategy, leadership, and most importantly, taking action. She's also the author of the award-winning personal development book published by Hay House called Percolate, Let Your Best Self Filter Through, as well as multiple children's books as a contributor and author. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi, Linda. It's so nice to be with you. Thank you for having me in your world. We have known each other for a while, haven't we? It's pretty cool to see all you have achieved and are doing, and I'm grateful for the support.
Well, I was thinking of it this morning, and I'm like, jeepers, I think we've been connected since Aspire was in print.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both were kind of starting out and finding our way in this world of self-help and personal development and personal growth. And yeah, your dream, I see your magazine and your dream and everything to publish and everything just so coming true. It's neat.
Well, same for you. I remember when you first started the Best Ever You Network, and look at you now. And then now I love that you're on this journey of writing books and spreading your message. So let's dive in, because the name of the book is The Change Guidebook. What led you with that desire to write this book?
So this is my second book on the topic of change, and I really love the topic of change and time, being respectful of our time with respect to change. And I'm really inspired by my father. My father is James F. Hamilton, and he's had moments as a stroke survivor. And he passed away in 2018, and a lot of what inspires me is how he navigated that difficulty. Being a stroke survivor, it was really tricky.
Well, you mean you learned a lot of life lessons, right? Watching him navigate such a life-changing situation.
Yeah, I really did. There was a moment, I'm a person too who has had my life altered. I have life-threatening food allergies on board. And when I was first diagnosed with my food allergies in my late 20s, I spent a lot of time feeling very sorry for myself until a moment where my dad was in a stroke rehab facility. And in a moment, he in a rehab type setting where there's a nurse and they're doing all these tests on him and so forth, he rattled off the ABCs of life, which was kind of the basis of Percolate in a speech therapy session. He was supposed to say nothing, The nurse warned us that people in his situation usually said nothing and lived their life the rest of their life like that. And instead he said aardvark, benevolence, courage, determination, excellence, all these amazing, powerful words. And it became a moment where I just stopped feeling sorry for myself and really understood uh, pain into purpose a little bit more.
What a hard moment to have, but what a pivotal, beautiful moment to have, right?
It really was. He really put his foot down, so to speak, and said, "I'm living through this, and watch me do this," because people just didn't quite have the same faith in him that he had in himself, and so he taught us all a lesson. We really didn't think he was going to survive to the quality of life he had, which was amazing. He even wrote a book, basically blind as a stroke survivor. Just an incredible story. He was so cool.
Well, I can see he's one of your greatest spiritual teachers too.
Oh, absolutely, and I think he'd be really proud of this moment, with with you here. He would love to hear this conversation, and I always think he's with me.
I was just going to say he is hearing this conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
He's
deeply believe that just from my own experiences, and that those we love are always with us, supporting us, being our biggest cheerleaders.
Yeah, him and my Aunt Barbara, they're here. You can just feel them in different moments, and I love that. I love the angels around us for sure.
Oh, you're speaking my language, girl.
Yeah.
So, in the book, you talk about 10 points of change, right?
Yep.
What are two you can share with us today?
So I like the first two actually. I like assess and choose. I think those are really we used the word pivotal earlier. I think they really are pivotal moments when you're trying to change something or when you're coping with an unforeseen circumstance or navigating, a change you didn't ask for or a club you didn't want to join. They're really helpful because they help you take that pause and that sort of step back and evaluate. And then from there, I love choose because I really do believe we choose in every moment, maybe even down to the nanosecond, how we spend our time.
This is a big one for me because when I had my, I guess you can say, awakening in 91, I remember sitting in the car on one of the darkest days of my life. And I heard a message come through, which back then I wasn't on the personal development path. And it just said, the essence of who you are was never touched at a child. You can choose a different story instead of victimhood.
Yeah.
And now, first off, Elizabeth, you would think that hearing my soul speak to me, my intuition, would be my epiphany. It wasn't. Guess what it was? Hearing the word choose.
Really?
Yeah, it changed everything for me because in that moment of choice, as I'm sure you share in the book, right? Assess and then choose. There's power in that. And that changed the complete trajectory of my life. So, as you're guiding people through the 10 points of change, when they assess and then choose, do you also feel that pivotal power moment in that moment of choosing? Because they can either choose to stay on the same path or choose something different.
I do. I think there's so much power in choice, and sometimes we flip the two around. And in all fairness, sometimes we choose and then we go back and we assess and kind of figure out what we've done. But I do think that there's incredible power in choice. We have a choice in how we spend our time and our energy. We and getting people to really understand that and guide them to understand that we're not entitled to time is something I really focus on with people when I work with them. And then also rooting really strongly in gratitude.
Uh, that's why I loved when I introduced you, and with gratitude based behavior and belief systems. There is such healing power when we tap into gratitude, isn't there? I know it changed my life. Has
I-
it played, and I know it's played a big role in your life. So that's part of your teachings is this gratitude based behavior.
Gratitude-based behavior is a huge part of what I help people learn if they don't already have some sort of practice involved. I know gratitude's a pretty hot topic right now, and people think real well versed in gratitude with lists and so forth of things they're grateful for, which are it's all great and everything, but I really like to bring people back to gratitude for some of the just basic things that we're kind of on autopilot for, such as breath. In my case, I'm extremely grateful for glasses. I'm negative 950 in each eye. I have terrible eyesight. Just simple things like that that you might have access to that other people don't. And I love to really bring people to just recognize the beauty in the moment and not compare, I guess, not compare and despair, because when we compare ourselves to other people, we also very much block gratitude.
Oh, most definitely. I've lived in that energy in my younger years.
Yeah.
And something you said too about gratitude, like I I do a gratitude list every morning and night. But here's the difference, and I think it's so powerful that you brought that up. It isn't about writing the list. If you just write a list, and I'll just use an example, as you have to go into the energy and essence of gratitude as you're writing that thing that for which you are grateful. It's an energy. It isn't a thought. It isn't a, well, I'll write this down. Such a sacred energy when you're tapped into the energy of um, gratitude. I think it has such a different vibration than anything else.
Yeah, that's good learning right there. That's so helpful to the listeners right now to about gratitude energy. It very much is. It's sort of a love for life, a love for yourself. It blends nicely with love. And one of the things I like to do in my journal is maybe write a like a topic for the day or something that I'm grateful for in terms of like I'll write like I'm really super grateful for glasses, and then I'll think about the energy behind why. And I'll maybe write a paragraph about why I'm so grateful that I have glasses and contacts. Things like that. But yeah, you just that love for the simplest of things.
Yeah, like I remember I used to dread washing dishes, right? Because I was never, I got to hand wash these dishes. I have a dishwasher, but sometimes you have to hand wash. And then I go, you know what, Linda? That's a story you're telling yourself that you don't like to wash dishes. What if you approached it in this different way? And what I did was say, oh, I'm grateful for the warm water going over my hands. Suddenly now, washing dishes, I have a ritual. I'm looking out at the woods, which is just goes on and on. Sometimes I see a deer. But if I stayed in the energy of, darn, I hate washing dishes, guess what? I would always be experiencing that low vibration energy. It's those little simple moments that help me stay tapped into gratitude.
Yeah, I love hearing that. And I love the call it a gratitude flip, where you just sort of flip what's bothering you into the positive. And like what you just did, um, just find the positive. I can remember when my dad was in ICU, one of the first times he was in and out of the ICU a lot. And there's a moment where well, there were several moments, I guess, but I'll just describe this one where they were trying to get him off the ventilator. And that's a tricky process if you've ever had a loved one on a ventilator. Bringing them off the ventilator, especially if they've been on it for a while, is a heart-wrenching process to some extent. And they were having trouble. So they sent my mom and I back to the ICU waiting room. And my mom was just crying. And I'm like, Mom, I got to do something that is going to be so awkward right now, but just my self-help self is telling me to remove you from this situation and let's go do something completely different, maybe even fun, to get your mind off of this. And I said, what do you want to go do? And she goes, I just want to sit here. And I'm like, well, we're not going to do that. We're not going to sit here and mope and be all sad. We're going to just change the energy up. And we went over to Kohl's across the street from the hospital, and I took her sweater shopping, and she was not really there. You know what I mean? It was just sort of doing the motions of sweater shopping. Her mind was totally someplace else. But when we got back to the hospital, I took one of the sweaters she had bought, and I tied it around her neck. And I said, there's our superhero cape. And I put mine on and her on, and back into the ICU we went for another round a couple hours later of trying to get my dad off the vent with the nurses and stuff. And you can do so much with your energy. I think what you were saying earlier, so powerful.
Well, it's like that moment with your mom, right? You can
Yeah.
feel I could feel the energy shifting as you're telling me the story. So that was because I was visualizing, and then my heart starts to smile. So I could feel the change that happened then. So,
Yeah.
Elizabeth, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back in a moment, my friends. I invite you to visit besteveryou.com to learn about all the magic that Elizabeth is offering the world. And of course, grab a copy of her book, The Change Guidebook. We will be right back.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM radio network.
Inspiration for a Woman's Soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM radio network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. With me today is the author of The Change Guidebook, as well as the author of Percolate, Let Your Best Self Filter Through. So we're talking about the power of shifting our energy, of choosing, reassessing where we are so we can make new choices. And in your book, you also talk about the importance of aligning our heart, truths, and energy. Describe to the readers, Elizabeth, what you mean by that, what you mean about aligning them all.
So I really encourage people to think with their heart. That's a huge one for me. And I really do truly believe that when you align your heart, your truths, and your energy, just about anything is possible. But sometimes people go, well, I don't understand what you mean. I'm thinking all day long, and I'm an executive. I'm doing my thing. I'm on maybe even autopilot, going, doing. I don't have time for this stuff. And that's where I call for that pause, and I help people really engage their heart in their moments to really, you said intuition earlier, your gut, your heart talks to you. And when we ignore our heart, I really think it's what maybe even causes sickness. It certainly causes distress, and it causes oftentimes us to go down the wrong path. And so I really love to help people learn how to engage their heart with their truths. That's about really being authentically you. For example, like you and I put the video on, and I'm like, here I am. Hair's on top of my head. I'm in my sweatshirt. I'm like, here I am. And I think the world needs more of us authentically versus these things that we try to be to impress other people, worried about what other people think and all this stuff. And that's where the true love comes in. Like, you see me, and I was pretty afraid to turn my camera on. I'm like, I warned you. And you're like, I love you no matter what. I love the phrase, I love you no matter what. It's so powerful.
And I want to say to the audience, she looks absolutely stunning. I'm like, what is she talking about? I wish I looked that good. Right? But see how we feel we have to take on a role. And I think that's for all of us, Elizabeth. We all feel that way.
Yeah. And the other thing we do is just on the authentic you kick here, which is just huge for me. The don't impress everybody with all this fake stuff all the time. One of the things that we have the privilege of doing that we get so confused about is aging. You're privileged if you get to age, and I don't know that the world sees it that way. We're fighting it with our worry about our wrinkles and our hair color and our grays and our blah, 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 all this stuff. And I really seek to help people have a conversation that you want to age, and be authentically you, all of it, and help us embrace our aging population a little bit better, and I'll include me in that. I'm 52 years old. Include me in that, to really apply love, because we get to age, and what a wonderful thing that is. And then as far as your energy is concerned, that's the action part, I think. I think it's really important to help people understand that you're going to go where you place your energy. What you place emphasis on is what you get more of, generally speaking.
It's so true. I love that you brought up the aging thing. I'll be 60 this year.
Bravo.
Yeah. And
lucky.
Thank you. And one of the things, I have this conversation all the time. I remember a friend of mine way back 20 years ago. She was turning 40. There was so much drama. That's all she talked about. Oh my God. And I said, and I believe this with all my heart and still say it. I said, what a blessing. You know how many people would would give everything to have another day, who are
Yeah.
fighting breast cancer or whatever it may be, and they're not going to even see 40, and you are complaining about turning 40? What a
Yeah.
what a blessing it is for you to be here that so many other people won't get to experience. Would you like to
Oh,
yeah, like would you like to trade places with them?
yeah.
It didn't hush her up. I've
Yeah.
used that quite a few times. So I look at aging as like you do. Thank you for another day. Thank you for these little crow's feet under my eyes. Right? That means I've smiled a lot. So I love that. I love that you brought that up because, and I think with social media and all of that, projecting these false images of beauty and aging, it
Yeah.
can add to the stories we tell ourselves. So that's really important. I'm glad that you brought it up about the importance of aligning our heart truths and energy and how that plays into it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that there's a conversation to be had on that, and I hope that people really remember their value at all ages, because I think that's really what it is. It's sort of a drift from really understanding their value at that age. They, for some reason, don't feel valued anymore, or as an important or pretty or whatever it is. There's a drift from the authenticity of that particular age, and it's, I think we all do it. I mean, I've had moments, I had that freak out at 40. I remember
Well, I
that.
think
Like, oh no, because yeah,
yeah, and
I
you know,
did
it's
it at
funny. I
50
never had
also.
it at 40, 50, or even about to turn 60. My moment was, for some darn reason, was 35. I was like, "Oh, I have to be really responsible now. You know, when you're in your 20s and early 30s, I think you're messing around with life. But now, you know, that was my moment. It doesn't make sense, um,
Yeah.
but now it's just like I'm in a completely different energy. So I want to talk a little bit about the Best Ever You network because you know you've had that for a number of years now. You've helped thousands of people across the globe be their best self. So let's talk about what it is, what led you to it, and anything else you want to share to introduce it to our audience.
So the Best Ever You Network, we provide professional and personal development across the world. And I started it in 2008. We mentioned I'm a mom of four boys. They're 20, 22, 24, and 26 now. So if you back that up, they were quite young. And when the little one went into first grade, the littlest one went into first grade, I thought, aha, I'll go back out into the world, get all dressed up, and go get a job back in the financial services industry. I did that. And after about 8 months or so, I closed my door in the midst of four people in the office fighting. And I wrote down, there's got to be something better than this. Best Ever You, the Best Ever You network, help people be their best because I'm not feeling it in this moment. I closed my door and wrote that. I wrote a bunch of other stuff down. That's the mission statement. I opened my door back up and left the office, ended the job, and went home.
That was it. You were just like, I'm doing this.
Yeah. And I knew nothing about domains or websites. I'm sure as you met me, you were like, wow, you don't know what you're doing. And that was probably decently accurate. But I went up the street and had a neighbor who knew about websites and domains help me out and teach me. And it's just evolved since there. And I've always had dreams since I was a little kid about being a writer. You can go all the way back to kindergarten, and I was helping the other kids learn to read and write and all that good stuff. So I've always had that dream, and that's just, it's nice that it's become part of it.
Well, you know, I laugh because when I started the mag, I didn't even know what an opt-in autoresponder was or anything.
Yeah.
But you know what I found too, Elizabeth? I know you can speak to this. When you have a dream in your heart and it's a knowing that this is what you're meant to do, you figure it out, don't you? You just stay committed, and when you do that and you lead from your heart, my language is the divine will show you the next step. Stop trying to control everything.
Oh, I so agree. And then the other thing I would add to that too is, we meet people in these moments at various stages of their life, of various stages of doing things, achieving whatever it is. And I think it's so important to meet each other in moments, especially if you don't know each other. Even if you do know each other, if you got big goals, dreams, and so forth, to meet each other in those moments with grace and kindness and collaboration and compassion and elegance and all of those things, because I think there's plenty of room for all of us. There
Oh,
really
there is. And one thing I've dedicated my career to, I've been an entrepreneur since I'm 92. I celebrated 30 years in January.
is.
And for me, it's always about a woman giving another woman a hand up because I was exactly where they were, right? Not knowing what autoresponder was, not knowing so many things when I was starting different businesses. But it was always this, I call them angels, earth angels, that came in right when I needed support in whatever area. And have you discovered that too?
Yes, a little bit. It was a harder learning curve for me because I was raised in an environment where women, and this happened to me a lot in high school, where it was like a grand competition between girls. And it really, I've had a lot of aha moments and starting in my life and owning the Best Ever You network. It's like, oh, I get it. You don't need to compete with everybody. So I for myself and other people, I have a phrase I use. It's just conscious ambition, where you don't trample all over everybody to get what you want and so forth. And you really just respect each other and meet in those moments and are just meet with kindness, because we're all doing different things. And it's so much more powerful when you collaborate with people instead of compete.
Oh yeah, it's such a important message in my work. Right
Yeah.
around the same time that you started the network in 2008, Aspire was a couple years old in the print industry. And in 2009, I had my spiritual awakening, and I said, I can't continue with Aspire because I didn't know how to make it fit into who I was as a spiritual person, especially at that time, because the marketing paradigm for all the publications in my area and regionally were really masculine. And I was coming into myself going, this does not feel good. I
Yeah.
am not competitive. Like, I'll give you one example. Remember, you may remember that I used to host and produce live women's events for 200 to 400 women.
Yes.
And I have a collaborative spirit. So we'd have 65 speakers, 2.5 days. It was beautiful. And one day I called up a regional publication, woman owned, because I'm all about supporting women in business. I said, hey, I just want to offer you. And I didn't just do it to that person. I called other publications too, that others would think if they live in the masculine were my competition. But because I didn't believe that way, I never saw that, right?
Yeah.
But I know the world would see that. And I called to offer her a table so she could put on her magazines, no charge. And she said, I know what you're up to. You're trying to get my readers. I was like,
I know.
like
Yeah.
what? I
What?
couldn't believe it, but that's the masculine toxic energy of competition. I think we've all experienced it. Come on,
Yep.
it's human. But when you raise your consciousness, you see we are not competition. We are all delivering, in many cases, the same message, but in our unique, beautiful way and energy. Have you found that too?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've had to sort of retrain myself so I understand that a lot better. And I think I've had a really good understanding of it, you know, probably about year two, maybe into Best Ever You. I've always kind of known it, but I didn't know quite how to implement it. And so I did a lot of learning around that. I forgave myself for, if I've encountered you and treated you poorly or anything like that.
Never.
Uh,
You
you
were
know,
always,
no, not you. I mean, just in
oh,
general,
okay.
like I've encountered people, and just been like, oh, I'm competing with you, because I came to I grew up in the pageant world. I grew up as Miss Iowa teen and these things. And so I grew up learning from people that, you're going to compete with each other for this crown and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh no, that's not what this is about. So in my later years, I've remedied my younger self. But, I think that you could just go back even to high school. And I think those with the collaborative energy fared better than those with the competitive energy. Although I was raised in sports and things like that, so you're competing. It's confusing when you're a competitive gymnast how not to compete but to collaborate. And I think the answer is there's plenty of room for all of us, and we're all going to trade off these winning moments and wonderful moments, and we just trade them off.
It's a beautiful way to look at it and come to. We're going to
Yeah.
take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment. I am with Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino, founder of the Best Ever You Network and the author of the Change Guidebook, as well as other books. Learn more at besteveryou.com. We'll be right back.
This is OTRFM. part of the IOM Radio Network.
It's time to begin the adventure of a lifetime by nurturing the most important relationship you will ever have, the relationship with yourself. Kelly Grimes, self-nurturing expert, speaker, and author of the bestseller, The Art of Self-Nurturing, a field guide to living with more peace, joy, and meaning, shares that a self-nurturing practice is not about being perfect or completing another thing on your to-do list, but rather nurturing a relationship with yourself. In The Art of Self-Nurturing, you'll discover the inspiration, examples, reflective questions, and self-nurturing practices that will empower you to become the artist of your own life and see self-nurturing as an art form. Rather than living from obligation and overwhelm, you will learn to cultivate a life filled with self-compassion and self-love. Order your copy today at artofselfnurturingbook.com and receive the Self-Nurturing Starter Kit as a supportive gift.
This is OTR FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. So, Elizabeth, right before the break, we were talking about, what led you to start the Best Ever You Network. What are some of the services and opportunities that, site visitors experience through the Best Ever You Network?
So I think our primary focus for a really long time has been various articles that people write, and you can gather your information from the articles and so forth. And in the past 4 years or so, we've transitioned to master classes and conferences and coaching. I've always been a coach since like 2008. Really, I've been a certified life coach, but I became a master life coach. And so I train. I'm a person in the country who trains people to become life coaches. So that's a huge focus. But right now, what I hope is that people understand that this book, the Change Guidebook, is a masterclass in itself. So for the price of a book, you can get a certification in change.
So talk about that. So they purchase the book, and then what happens after that?
So the book is structured so that there's 10 chapters. There's narrative from me in each chapter. Then there's 2 stories from contributors. And then there's 2 exercises in each chapter. So to get the certification, you complete the exercises, and then there's a final exam. And so for people who are like, I don't want to take an exam, this is not a hard exam. It's a kind of a, what do you think about this type of, gets you to think exam. It's not a multiple guess or anything like that. And you can get your certification in change.
That is a powerful opportunity for anyone that's interested. And it's also going to be healing too, right? So even if they don't want the certification to do something in the outside world, it's a certification really in supporting them in their own healing journey.
Absolutely. The book is written in such a way that if you don't want to use it for certification and wish to use it for something else, you certainly can. And that's just fine. You don't have to complete, the exercises are great for a book club even. So they're just there to make you think and help you navigate change and learn more about change. I don't know of anybody who couldn't use learning about change more in their tool, like their best life toolbox is what I keep saying is, it's a great tool to learn how to navigate change.
Because it must cover resilience too. And because we got to be resilient through change. I mean, right now, the last few years, and I think everyone, even not counting the last few years, we all go through major pivotal points in our life. I know I've kind of had many. Does it talk about resilience too?
Majorly, yeah. It definitely talks about resilience. It talks about asking for support when you need it, not feeling like when you ask for support, you're feeling like a failure or anything like that. It talks about just about everything that you could think about with respect to change. And my goal is to help people change maybe their perspective on change, because a lot of people kind of put the brakes on when there's change. They're like, oh, I don't want to change. I don't want to change that, and so forth. And so I help people see change as positive if it's possible, and or at least help them face whatever's going on or the changes that they want to make in a positive way.
Oh, I love that. Now, do you notice that most of the people are getting the book and taking the course and doing the certification? Are they in the life coach and personal development industry?
It's everywhere at this point. We have kids in college who are using the book right now because of COVID and what they've gone through. So it's a it's a great book to meet you in that moment of, I don't know what I want to do next, or I've been through something and I don't know quite what I've been through in terms of like how I'm going to navigate my future. A lot of people have lost, you know, feel like they've lost 2 years of their life in the past few years. It's just different. And so the book really helps you pick up from that moment and go forward.
It sounds powerful, my friend. So earlier we talked about two of the 10 points, which are reassess and choose. What are another 2 points that you could share with us today?
So really like master and impact. I'll go to the end actually. In the very last chapter of the book, Senator Olympia Snowe joins us to share her story of how she became a U.S. senator and how she came to found the organization that she has, and she helps young women in the state of Maine in high school. Uh, I'm a leadership advisor for her organization, and I have 5 girls that I mentor to all through high school. So I start with them their sophomore year and see them through graduation. And so master and impact are so powerful because you really never know who needs your wisdom or your moment or your kindness or your expertise or your story. And I seek to help people move out of that fear of uh, oh, nobody needs to know me or hear me or see me, or what do I have to share with the world, when in fact you are so powerful.
And what a sacred gift that you're giving these young ladies to have that kind of mentorship at a critical time in their identity development.
Oh, yeah, I think what she's done is so brilliant. Throw down your politics. It doesn't matter which side of politics or whatever that you're on. If you take a look at the organization itself, she places 2 adults with 5 girls in each grade in each school in the state of Maine.
Are you
That is a
kidding?
lot of women, and it's people and young women who might not otherwise graduate. For example, they've got something
Wow.
going on in their life where they need a mentor or a leadership role in their life, and it's just been so wonderful for the past 3 years of my life to see these 5 women succeed. One graduated high school early, even, and I marvel at what she does, and it brings me to tears on various moments. But that's a lot of women to help.
Oh my God, it is. And to know that it's the ones who might be forgotten,
Yeah,
right? It's the ones who might struggle in school, struggle with their identity, struggle with their place in the world. So that she chose to serve that demographic, especially you're talking about high school dropout and single welfare moms. So it really touches my heart that that's what
yeah,
the woman she chose. So thank you for stepping into that, because think of the ripple effect. That she had that vision. You each are holding the vision and doing your part. And imagine the giant ripple effect.
isn't it amazing?
It's
Yeah,
beyond amazing. It's going to help generations because these
the
women.
people. Yep.
Yeah.
Because I have goosebumps right now talking to you about it. When I started to write out this book, it was with her in mind. It really was. And it was a big ask for me to say, hi, hi, Senator Snow. I'm writing a book, and a person can't see your vision for the book in that moment. So you're kind of scattering details of kind of what your vision is for the book. But I said, my vision is you. This book isn't going to be the book without you in it, sharing the story of how you've made an impact, because she was orphaned at a really young age. And I don't know if people know that. And the things that she has gone through are incredible obstacles to become who she is today. And then to turn around and make an impact on all these other women. Um, it fills my heart.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting, I call it soul bumps, soul
Yep.
giggles.
Yep.
And we're going to take a final break before we come back for the last segment. And I want to dive deeper into the work that you're doing in the world. So with me today is Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino, founder of the Best Ever You Network. Please visit her at besteveryou.com and grab a copy of the Change Guidebook at besteveryou.com / Change Guidebook. We'll be right back.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Are you feeling the call to unleash your feminine wisdom, hone your empathic gifts, and rise as the goddess you are? You're not alone, my beautiful friend. Crystal Cockerham, spiritual mentor and certified red tent facilitator, trained in both shamanic and priestess practices, works with awakened, empathic women around the world to unlock their shackles of pain, shame, and self-condemnation so they can reclaim their sovereignty and liberate themselves from the world's perceptions. As the founder of Wisdom Awakens and an international best-selling author, Crystal uses her own intuitive blend of spiritual midwifery and energy healing to support women on their journey of transformation. You'll find supportive guidance and community in Crystal's programs, retreats, and sacred offerings. If you're feeling the call to embrace your feminine power, learn more about Crystal's supportive services at crystalcockerham.com.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm Linda Joy, and with me today is Elizabeth, founder of the Best Ever You Network and author of the Change Guidebook. So, we're going to circle back to the story about your dad because there was so much wisdom and insights you got from his healing journey that opened you up to your own healing journey of healing the woe me, woe my story as you had, described that you were in. What other, I call it, that's a spiritual teaching to me, or wisdom teaching. What other life lessons did you learn through your dad's stroke and his subsequent passing?
So, I went back home. I'm going to make sure I tell this right. I went back home from Maine to Minnesota to be with my dad at Christmas time a few years back now. And he said to me, this is my last Christmas. So talk to me, ask me anything you want to ask me about. And just let's get everything out there because this is my last Christmas. I'm dying. That's basically really exactly what he said. And I believed him at the time. And I was really one of the only, I've got a lot of siblings, and a lot of people, when their parent is ill, they don't know how to react. So with all the siblings, we have all sorts of different reactions. Some people don't want to visit because it hurts their own feelings. There's just so many different reactions to a parent ill. And I don't know if this is answering the question perfectly, but it's just a story about my dad. And he was so vulnerable. He was talking to me, he was hugging me, and I'm the one kid that doesn't live in Minnesota. I live in Maine, and I just learned just more love than ever, and to really cherish time. It made so many things feel so insignificant compared to how you spend your time. That's really what it did for me. It makes me really think about what I'm doing all the time.
Yeah, because you could have had 100 reasons not to be there, right?
Yeah. And it did turn out to be his last Christmas. It did turn out to be the last hugs and talking to him, because from that moment in 2017, all of 2018, he was in and out of ICUs. I had moments with him on the phone and a few moments in person, but not like that. He wasn't as, he wasn't conversational. He was really sick, battling for his life and not real awake. And so it just makes you it just makes you really think. And I did see him take his last breath. I was there. And when I got home from Minnesota after that, I was standing over pears in the grocery store. This is a odd story, but I was crying, Linda, over pears in the grocery store, just absolutely sobbing. I had come back for the week. I was up at the grocery store. I didn't know I was crying, and this woman came up to me and she said, "Can I give you a hug?" And I'm like, "Actually, yeah, you can." And this is pre-COVID and everything. And when she was hugging me, she said, "Which one of your parents just passed?" And I'm like, "How do you know that?" And she goes, "The look on your face is unmistakable."
Whoa.
And I have no idea still, Linda, who this person was. I've never seen them before. I'd never seen him again. And I just don't know if I just believe in angels.
I was just gonna say, I've had moments like that. It's the divine
Yeah.
giving you what you need at that moment, and the only way you would recognize it was to be placed in a human body, right?
Yeah.
But the love and the comfort was beyond, right? Because
Oh,
nobody could have known that.
no, no, and nobody was stopping it. It's why I say now that moment is I went home, thought about it. I'm like, that was just so divine. That was somebody else. I don't know who it was. Maybe my dad. I have no idea, but that was somebody else. And it made me really stop and think about how we encounter human beings in our everyday, going about just interacting with other people. And again, maybe in a perhaps non-COVID environment, but we're hustle and bustle and we're moving and we're impatient and we're frustrated and we're honking and we're whatever it is. And I really think we need to take a step off that and encounter people with the collaboration, the grace, the kindness, and so forth, because you have absolutely no idea what is occurring in another person's life beyond the superficial. Like the
Mm.
I just really think we need to maneuver through encountering each other differently.
Oh, 100%. And your story, I'll share a story where I knew a moment of exactly what you have been sharing through this whole conversation about how we show up.
Yeah.
And you know how energy, you can feel energy. That woman felt you. I was in line, this is a decade ago, at a grocery store. The woman behind the register might have been in her late 30s. She was messing up a lot. You could tell she wasn't present. But I'm like fourth in line, and the people in front of me were like, "Rah," you know, that energy. Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what are you, stupid?" The things they were saying. But you felt the energy being passed from the first person, Elizabeth, to the second, to the third. And I was just learning about Reiki and energy and my own spirituality. And I'm like, "Oh no, you are not getting by me. This energy is not coming into me and through me to the people behind me." So I watched, and the more they pushed their energy to her with no compassion, no anything, right? It was like you said, "I'm in a rush, I gotta go." They're not seeing the human. So then it's my turn, and all I said to her, Elizabeth, was, "Having a tough day, huh?" And the tears flowed. And she said to me, "My son was hospitalized last night. I'm new at this job, and they said if I called out, I wouldn't have a job."
Yeah.
Where'd she want to be? At the hospital, but she was a single mom. Do you know now? Here's what happened. I gave love, right? Compassion, saw her as a human. Now, all the people behind me that might have been feeling angry and as frustrated as the three in front of me, guess what they felt now?
Yeah.
Love,
Lot more
compassion,
compassion. Yeah.
giving her loving words and kind words. I saw her about 3 months later. Her son was doing fine. And she said, "You changed my life that day. Nobody saw me. I felt invisible. I felt so deep in my pain until you saw me." I never, ever forgot that. That was a minute moment in my life, right? In my
Yeah.
everyday life, me giving love and compassion, everything you've been so beautifully describing, my one moment of giving love and compassion created a ripple effect in others. So that was a big spiritual aha for me. But look what it did for her. So
Yep.
it's everything you just said. That person seeing you that day
Yep.
and
Beautiful.
taking that moment, that's what the world needs more of. We have to
Yeah.
get out of our own head and back into our heart.
Yep. One of the things I wrote in Percolate is random acts of kindness create waves of peace, and I just truly believe that. So people are always like, "Well, how do I find peace? What is peace?" and so forth. That's how you find peace. That's it starts with you, and
Yeah.
it goes from there. And I would also call out, and like in that circumstance, this is why I work with companies as well, and leaders and managers and so forth. uh, we it's really important to remember as a manager and a leader, CEO, whatever it is, that we all trade these moments. And so to say to someone, another human being on the planet, well, if you call, you might have paraphrased it, but in general, if you call in, you're not going to have a job. With most likely no poking their nose around to understand what's going on in her life.
Yeah. Exactly. They just make a decision based on policy, not human connection.
Exactly. And I think we need to really understand in this age of computers and like you just said, policy and rules and this and that we need to continue to remember we're all dealing with human beings, and human beings have thoughts, emotions, moments, problems, successes, a whole host of things in any given moment or day. And not every day is sad, not every day is happy. It's a whole mix of everything. And so when you're meeting people in the moments, it's important to just remember compassion, 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 love, all of that, and show up like that. And it's a different world.
Man, I love what you said about the ripple. It starts with us. And I say to women, if you're not peaceful, how can your family be peaceful? How can those children then go out into the world and be peaceful? How can the world be peaceful? It does start with us. So you nailed it. And it's such an important message because sometimes we feel small in the world. Like, how the heck can I make a difference? This is a mess. It's what you just said, Elizabeth. Start with you. Start with peace. Start with making new choices. Start with being and holding an energy that can create a loving, positive ripple effect.
Yeah, you can feel when you're on the receiving end of an energy that's not compassionate and loving. And
Oh,
and
yeah.
you know how that is. So to push that back out into the world like that, energy is really important. Your energy is super important, and your actions that you take are like I said, when you align them up with your heart and your truths, you vibrate differently. I really do. I think your energy is just completely different if you are understanding life a little bit better. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but
Yeah,
I always
does.
say, as I get a little older, like my kids will say, I learned this or that. And I'm like, I never said you weren't smarter than me. All I said was I might have just a tiny bit more mileage. and,
Yeah, and
and yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
more life experience too, to be able to, put something in a container. There's something you said about energy. I believe this. Before we even physically say a word, like if it's an in-person meeting, your energy is reaching their energy field before you say a word.
Oh, 100%.
Because of our auras, because of the essence of who we are. So someone will feel you the moment you get into their energy field.
Yeah, I think
So they can tell if you're like that person, that
Yeah.
angel at the grocery store. She knew, she felt it. She felt your pain, but the beautiful gift of the divine was she rose up to hold it for you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that as a human being who's nearly lost my life a couple times through food allergic reactions and being resuscitated, and one time when I was 6 months pregnant with Cam, our third son, I know what it's like to feel like you're losing your life and so forth. And uh, it's just showing up. I go back to just showing up with kindness, because you have just absolutely no idea what
Yes.
other people, but learning that energy is so important. Um, and
That's-
you said just a bunch of things. And I think the one thing I'll be quiet and say is that, just we're all lifelong learners, and I love learning from each other. It's fabulous.
Well, that's a beautiful note to close out our conversation with. And one of the things I want to encourage my listeners to do is please get over to thebesteveryou.com. Stay connected with Elizabeth. Grab a copy of her book. Take advantage of the masterclass and the certification. And Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining me today.
Linda, it's been so much fun to be with you and reconnect, and lots of love to you.
Thank you, my friend. Until next time, everyone, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings, my friend.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.